In Argentina, Economy Minister Sergio Massa was chosen as the candidate of the ruling coalition for the August primary elections, together with Cabinet Chief Agustin Rossi as the vice presidential candidate. In Russia, Wagner chief Evgeny Prigozhin agreed to Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko's proposal to halt Wagner troops' movement to Moscow and de-escalate. And in Sierra Leone, vote counting began following a mostly peaceful general election. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Minister of Economy of Argentina, Sergio Massa, was standard-bearer as candidate of the official coalition Union por la Patria for the primary elections of August, accompanied by the Chief of the Cabinet, Agustin Rossi, as vice presidential candidate. The decision was taken from the officialist coalition in a panorama of negotiation between the political forces, given that on Saturday expires the opportunity to present the list of the pre-candidates who will compete at the polls. According to the electoral schedule, the political forces presenting their candidates must participate in the mandatory primary elections on Sunday, August 13, in order to decide who will be the candidates to participate in the elections. General elections for president, vice president, and national legislators are forecasted to be held on Sunday, October 22nd. In the event of a second round, these will be held on November 19th. In Honduras, members of the military police have received training as part of a training program to take control of the country's 21 prisons. The lawyer for the human rights training of the troops, Circe Amaya, reported that the central command of the Honduran military police, located about 5 kilometers south of Tegucigalpa, has at least 5 battalions installed. She explained that the troops of the command are undergoing constant training. The exercises came after the country's president, Xiomara Castro, ordered on Wednesday the military police of public order to take control of the country's prisons for a year, after a recent riot that left 46 inmates dead.
The armed forces, through the military police of public order, will make a forceful response. We are going to regain control of the penitentiary system in our country.
The metropolitan region of Chile continues to be affected by heavy rainfall. More than 300 people have lost their homes, while the local government announced the interruption of the water supply for at least 24 hours. According to a balance offered on Friday by the Minister of the Interior of Chile, Carolina Toja, 302 people were affected as a consequence of the floods caused by the heavy rains, who are now added to the more than 790 people who are deployed in shelters. The official also informed that 47 people are in the process of evacuation. On the other hand, the Minister of Public Works, Jessica Lopez, informed that there will be a 24-hour interruption of the drinking water service in the metropolitan area of the Chilean capital starting this Saturday due to the turbidity of the rivers caused by the intense rains that hit the center and south of the country. According to Lopez, the interruption in the service will not have a fixed schedule, but will depend on the conditions of the rivers.
I believe that we haven't seen this since many years ago, and it really has to be this way. What happens is that the connectivity and all these streets are designed without taking rain into account, but deep down it should be designed taking rain into account, because this should be normal, and we are also grateful that it rains even though we are wet scared, but we want water.
The Uruguayan Institute of Meteorology forecasts a worsening of the drought in the most affected areas of the country. The institute reported on Thursday that no significant rainfalls are expected for the rest of June and the first days of July. According to the Meteorological Office, in the basin of the La Plata River and the Santa Lucia River, less than 5 millimeters of rainfall are expected. The Uruguayan President Luis Lacalle Pou declared on Monday a water emergency in the metropolitan area due to the historical lack of fresh water reserves. More than 400 wildfires in Canada remain simultaneously active and have destroyed more than 6 million hectares of forest. Authorities of the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre reported 416 fires across the country and said that 213 of them are active and firefighters are still working to bring them under control. They also informed that wildfires that originated in the province of Quebec earlier this month have already spread to the nearby forest, causing the evacuation of thousands of people. The situation is considered one of the worst since 1983. U.S. President Joe Biden met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday in Washington during the Indian head of government's official visit to the United States. The two nations reached major deals on fighter jet engines, semiconductor investments, and space cooperation during Modi's third state visit as president. Modi, India's most powerful prime minister in decades, said the visit brought a new direction and new energy to the partnership with the United States. Washington aims to stop the flow of high-end chips to China, fearing the Asian nation would dominate the next technology generation. The U.S. and India also agreed to end 6 disputes before the World Trade Organization and expand cooperation in space, with India joining a U.S.-led initiative to put a human being back on the moon by 2025. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko announced on Saturday that he had arranged a deal whereby Wagner Group leader Evgeny Prigozhin will abandon his mutiny. According to the statement, Lukashenko and Prigozhin held talks and came to an agreement on the inadmissibility of unleashing a bloodbath on the territory of Russia. Lukashenko's office said that the talks were held in coordination with Russian President Vladimir Putin, adding that Prigozhin was offered an advantageous and acceptable option of resolving the situation with security guarantees for the Wagner PMC fighters. Prigozhin garnered no support from the Russian establishment. Instead, President Putin accused the Wagner chief of backstabbing the country and the Russian people, while Russia's Federal Security Service opened a criminal investigation into Prigozhin for calling for an armed rebellion, which was dropped off. Meanwhile, different sectors of the Eurasian country expressed their solidarity and support to President Vladimir Putin, calling the citizens to unity. Commenting on the situation arising from the Wagner military group, the deputies of the lower house of the Russian parliament, who represent the interests of the citizens of the Russian Federation, expressed their support for the Russian president as the sole commander-in-chief. From the Russian Senate, they also pronounced the importance of Putin's leadership in all the Russian regions and his role as guarantor of the constitution. For his part, Vice President of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, described the support to the President of the country as crucial to defeat the external and internal enemy. The government leaders of several countries expressed their support to President Vladimir Putin in the situation in the country in connection with the attempted armed mutiny by the Wagner military group. The Russian president held telephone conversations with his counterparts from Turkey, Belarus, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan, whom he informed about the situation. The presidents of the four countries expressed their full support for the measures taken by the Russian leadership, recalling that the constitutional order and the rule of law are an indispensable condition for maintaining law and order in the country. The leaders of these countries also expressed their readiness to contribute to a rapid solution of the situation. On Saturday, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the nation after the insurrection of the Wagner Group's leader, Evgeny Prigozhin.
We will protect our people and our statehood from any threats, including internal betrayal. And what we are facing is betrayal. Exorbitant, ambitious, and personal interests led to treason, to betrayal of both our country, our people, and the task for which, side by side with our other units and subunits, the fighters and commanders of the Wagner Group fought and died. The heroes who liberated Soledar and Artyomsk, cities and towns of the Donbass, fought and gave their lives for Novorossiya and the unity of the Russian world. Their name and glory were also betrayed by those who are trying to organize a rebellion, pushing the country towards anarchy and fratricide.
In the same line, the Russian president pointed out that the agitation will be severely punished and that the rebels will have to answer to the people and the justice system.
Any internal turmoil is a deadly threat to our statehood, to us as a nation. This is a blow to Russia, to our people, and our actions to protect the fatherland from such a threat will be tough. All those who deliberately embark on the path of betrayal, who prepare an armed rebellion, embarked on the path of the blackmail and terrorist methods, will suffer inevitable punishment, will answer both to the law and to our people.
In turn, President Vladimir Putin said that anti-terrorist measures have been implemented until the situation goes back to normal.
Additional anti-terrorist measures are now being introduced in Moscow, the Moscow region, and a number of other regions. Decisive action will also be taken to stabilize the situation in Rostov-on-Don. It remains difficult. In fact, the work of civil and military authorities is blocked.
President Putin also highlighted his sacred duty to defend Russia both as commander-in-chief and as a citizen. He reiterated those responsible will pay for their treason and urged their possible sympathizers not to get dragged into this tragic mistake.
As the President of Russia and Supreme Commander-in-Chief, as a citizen of Russia, I will do everything to defend the country, to protect the constitutional order, the lives, security, and freedom of citizens. Those who organized and prepared the military rebellion, who raised arms against their comrades in arms, have betrayed Russia and will be held accountable for this. And I urge those who are being dragged into this crime not to make a fatal and tragic, unique mistake, to make the only right choice, to stop participating in criminal acts.
We continue in Russia. Alexander Gusev, the governor of Russia's southern region of Voronezh, says that there can be no excuse for insurgents and urges residents to remain reasonable and calm. Gusev also voices support for President Vladimir Putin, saying that no circumstances can make us question the correctness of the path of President Putin leading Russia.
There can be no excuse for insurgents. Any attempts to violate the constitution and laws of the Russian Federation will be foiled and will fail. No circumstances can make us question that our President Vladimir Putin is leading Russia on the right path. My dear countrymen, I ask you not to give in to provocations and illegal calls. I have no doubt that the people of Voronezh region support their commander-in-chief, the military authorities, and the entire Russian army. Let us remain reasonable and calm.
An old depot caught fire on Saturday in the Russian city of Voronezh, local governor Alexander Gusev said. The official detailed that more than 100 firefighters and 30 vehicles work at the fire site, while underlining that according to first information, there are no victims. The cause of the fire was due to the detachment of a tank containing petroleum products. The governor said, adding that a train of firefighters has arrived at the site to help in extinguishing the flames. The Italian rescue forces continue to search for more than 40 migrants missing after the shipwreck of a boat off the coast of the southern island of Lampedusa. According to the International Organization for Migration, of the 46 people on board, only 4 have been rescued alive so far. The tragedy occurred on Thursday, only 6 hours after their departure from the Tunisian coast of Sfax. The shipwreck was due to bad weather conditions in the central Mediterranean Sea area. Among the missing are 7 women, one of whom was traveling with a newborn baby. According to the latest report of the Italian Ministry of the Interior from January to June 2023, 59,767 migrants arrived on Italian shores, 131% more than the 254,795 registered in the same period of 2022. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva told a climate summit in Paris on Friday that inequality threatened to derail climate change goals.
The climate issue is not a secondary thing. And that is why Brazil will carry out control of deforestation. That's why we're going to make it a point of honor that by 2030, we'll put an end to deforestation in the Amazon. Brazil has 30 million hectares of degraded land. You don't need to cut down a tree to plant a soybean or a corn stalk or raise cattle. Just recover the degraded land, and then we need to deal with international agreements, trade agreements. Trade agreements have to be fairer.
Lula also addressed the issue of deforestation and criticized global financial institutions such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund for not meeting the aspirations and interests of society.
What was created after the Second World War, Bretton Woods institutions, no longer works and no longer meets the aspirations or interests of society. Let's be clear that the World Bank leaves much to be desired in what the world needs from the World Bank. Let's make it clear that the IMF leaves much to be desired in terms of what people expect from the IMF. And often banks lend money, and this borrowed money is the result of the state's bankruptcy. So it is important for us to be aware that we cannot continue with institutions functioning in the wrong way. Even the National Security Council of the United Nations, the permanent members, no longer represent the political reality of 2023. It was represented in 1945. In 2023, it is necessary to change the United Nations needs to regain representation and political strength.
In Sierra Leone, vote counting began following a mostly peaceful general election despite a late start in some polling stations as the opposition denounced alleged irregularities. President Julius Bill is seeking a second term amid a crippling cost of living crisis that sparked deadly riots last year. 12 men and 1 woman are vying for the top job, though Bill's main challenger is Samura Kamara of the All People's Congress. The polling stations were scheduled to open at 7 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. local time, but many stations in the capital Freetown opened late. Many stations were likely to remain open longer after the Electoral Commission confirmed in a statement that all voters in queue at 5 p.m. would be allowed to vote. In Sierra Leone, voters have denounced irregularities in the opening of polling stations and delays in exercising the right to vote.
From 6 o'clock up to now, and now I able to get chance for vote. So almost now, let me say 20 after 4 before I get chance for vote.
We don't know for 4 o'clock this morning. Up to now, we no votes. Now 2 o'clock, they go for now. And we need to vote. Yes. Because it's our rights. Sure. So we need to vote.
Samura Kamara of the All People's Congress Party voted at a polling station in Freetown in Sierra Leone's general election, with Kamara poised as the main challenger to incumbent President Julius Maada. Speaking to the press after casting his ballot, Kamara denounces alleged irregularities, saying he has seen videos on social media of ballot stuffing at some polling stations.
Informed that there are certain centers where the presidential and mayoral ballots are not available. I don't know whether members of the press here have heard about that. I think we have to correct that. You don't allow voting unless all the ballot papers for all the candidates are available. They are present. Otherwise, if you allow partial voting, it will be difficult for a voter to come back and vote for an absent candidate. The last concern, I don't see clips on social media, ballot stuffing. They say they don't begin to identify, they don't begin to observe, say there are certain stations where they don't already detect ballot stuffing. Do you win elections properly? When you win elections properly, you go get confidence for serving people them properly. You don't want to be a rogue winner. You don't want to be a rogue parliamentarian. You don't want to be a rogue president. You want to be a president of the people. Let the will of the people make you the president.
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.